The galaxy felt strangely quiet that day. Even the great star stations, usually loud with trade and travel, moved slower. Ships hovered with less noise. Markets paused. Entire planets seemed to stop breathing. Something powerful was happening, something that made every species feel a cold wave in their hearts. At the center of this silence stood the most feared warrior in the known universe, Araxes, the apex warlord, a giant among giants, a legend made of victories, a being whose name alone could end wars before they even began. His armor was thick and dark, carved with symbols of battles no one else had survived. His eyes glowed like burning metal, cold but full of ancient strength. He stood on a massive battle platform, floating high above the capital city of the Azure Empire. Thousands of alien soldiers surrounded him. Many more watched from the stands. Countless cameras floated in the air, broadcasting every second across the galaxy. Everyone expected a punishment. Everyone expected fear. Because Araxes had captured something rare. A human, only one, a young species. A species still learning its place among the stars. A species many empires ignored, and some even mocked. But today, that single human stood at the center of attention. His name was Commander Jace Ward. He walked toward the apex warlord with calm steps. No chains around his wrists. No guards pushing him. No wounds on his face. He walked freely, almost confidently. His boots echoed softly on the metal floor, each sound growing louder in the bright silence. No one spoke. Not the soldiers. Not the leaders. Not the millions watching from light years away. Everyone waited for Araxes to speak first. The warlord slowly took a step forward. The ground shook under his weight. His armor hummed like a heavy engine coming alive. Each move felt like it could break the air around him. Still, Jace did not look afraid. He kept his eyes focused, straight, steady, calm. Araxes examined him closely. His glowing eyes narrowed slightly. Was he trying to intimidate the human? Test him? No one knew. No one dared to guess. Above them, the sky was filled with floating screens showing the scene from every angle. Across the galaxy, people leaned closer to their own screens, wondering what would happen next. Was this the moment humanity was destroyed? Was this the moment Araxes declared war on Earth? Was this the moment their young species was crushed? Jay stopped just 3 feet from the warlord. He looked up. It was impossible not to. Araxes was a full head taller, built like living stone. The wind whispered across the metal floor. The engines of nearby ships hummed quietly. Even the flames from torches around the platform flickered slower, as if nature itself waited. Araxes finally spoke. His voice was deep, like thunder rolling across mountains. Commander Jace Ward stepped forward. Jace obeyed without hesitation. Araxes stared into humans' eyes, searching for fear. Most people broke when he looked at them. Their knees shook. Their breath failed. Some even fainted. But Jace stood still. Araxes lifted his armored hand. Slowly, heavily, like a mountain moving. The crowd leaned forward. Soldiers tightened their grips on their weapons. Some expected Araxes to crush the human. Some expected him to throw Jace from the platform. Then something strange happened. Araxes stretched his hand toward Jace. The human hesitated for half a second. Not out of fear, out of confusion. Why would Araxes offer his hand? Even the galaxy's biggest leaders did not receive such a gesture. Still, Jace placed his hand on Araxes's. The moment their hands touched, the screens flickered from one world to another, showing the event. Millions watched as the most powerful warrior alive leaned closer to a human. Gently, carefully, almost respectfully. Then Araxes spoke again. But this time his voice was not loud, not angry, not commanding. It was calm, clear, powerful. Brother. The word echoed across the platform. The guards froze. The crowds gasped. The galaxy, every planet, every ship, every species, fell silent. Apex warlords did not choose brothers. They did not choose family. They did not choose equals. Their culture was strict. Their honor code was older than most civilizations. For him to call someone brother meant only one thing. He recognized Jace as his equal. A human, a young species, a newcomer to the stars. And Araxes had just given him a place beside him. The silence grew heavier. No one could speak. No one could understand what they were seeing. Across the galaxy, leaders panicked. What does this mean? Is humanity joining the Apex clans? Is this a threat? Is this an alliance? Is this to start a new war? No one knew. Araxes finally released Jace's hand and stepped back. He lifted his arm toward the sky. This human, he declared, has earned my respect. He has shown courage where others show fear, honor where others show lies, strength where others show pride. The crowd stared in shock. Araxes continued, "From this day forward, he is my brother, and anyone who challenges him challenges me." His words struck the galaxy like a silent explosion. No ships fired. No armies marched. No alarms rang. Yet the entire galaxy trembled, because for the first time in history, the Apex Warlord had chosen a human as family, and nothing in the universe would ever be the same again. The entire station felt different after the Apex Warlord's shocking announcement. Soldiers whispered in the halls. Officers exchanged confused glances. Even the security drones paused longer than usual before continuing their patrol routes. Something had shifted in the air, like a quiet storm hiding behind a calm sky. And in the center of all this stood the human, Commander Jace Ward, trying to understand why the most feared warrior in the galaxy had just called him brother. Jace had seen strange things in his life, but nothing compared to this. One moment he had been preparing for a diplomatic meeting, and the next, the Apex Warlord, the undefeated giant of the Vargothi Empire, had stepped forward, bowed slightly, and spoken a word that silenced every species present. Brother. Jace didn't even know how to react. He had never met the Warlord before. They came from two different edges of the galaxy, yet the Warlord's voice carried certainty, an emotion deeper than simple respect. Now, hours later, the station still buzzed with confusion. The diplomatic hall had emptied, but Jace remained there, staring at the massive doors through which the Warlord had vanished. The alien delegation had left in a mixture of fear and disbelief. No one wanted to be near the human right now. Not when the most powerful being in the galaxy had just claimed him as kin. The human ambassador approached him carefully. "Jace, do you understand what this means?" Jace shook his head. Not even close. Every species in the Alliance is terrified. The Warlord never calls anyone friend, let alone brother. Many worlds fear this is some kind of declaration. Declaration of what? Jace asked, "That you now hold influence equal to the Warlord himself." Jace almost laughed. "I don't want influence. I just want to survive this meeting." But survival was no longer guaranteed. In a dim meeting room across the station, several alien ambassadors gathered in secret. The room smelled of ozone and old machinery, the walls pulsing with soft blue light. None of them looked calm. Ambassador Cthira, a tall, insect-like being, clicked her claws anxiously. This cannot stand. If the Warlord unites with the humans, the balance of power will break. A heavy, stone-skinned Bronnet slammed his fist on the table. The Warlord respects no one. Why respect a human? Why call him brother? A smaller ambassador whispered, voice trembling, "What if the prophecy is real?" Everyone stiffened. The prophecy, a legend told across dozens of systems. A warning of a human who would rise not through violence, but through unexpected recognition. None of them wanted that prophecy to be true. Meanwhile, Jace was escorted to a private chamber for safety. Not for his safety, but for everyone else's. The humans feared one thing above all. If something happened to Jace, the Warlord might burn entire star systems searching for the one responsible. Jace sat on a small bed, staring at the metallic floor. His mind raced with unanswered questions. Why me? Why now? What does he want? He replayed the Warlord's words again and again. There had been no aggression, no threat, only certainty. But certainty from a being who had defeated entire fleets was dangerous. His thoughts were interrupted by a soft knock on the door. Captain Mira Hale stepped inside, her uniform crisp, her expression tense. "Jace, we need to talk," she said. The station has intercepted encrypted chatter. Many species believe the Warlord is preparing something big. I don't see how any of this is my fault. It's not blame, she said. It's power. When he called you brother, he changed your position in the galaxy. Well, he could have at least warned me, Jace muttered. Hale pulled up a small hologram. It showed several ships gathering near the station. Not human ships. Not Vargothi either. They belonged in neutral worlds, worlds afraid of what might happen next. They're watching us, Hale continued, waiting to see how the Warlord reacts next. Jace leaned forward, and if he reacts badly, then the galaxy loses its balance. Before Jace could respond, an alarm echoed through the station, a low, vibrating tone that set nerves on edge. Hale's eyes widened. That's not a drill. The lights dimmed, replaced by red emergency markers. A robotic voice spoke. Incoming vessel. Identification. Vargothi Apex flagship. Prepare for high-priority arrival. Jace felt his stomach drop. The Warlord was coming back. The station's docking bay filled with soldiers and security teams. Everyone maintained strict formation, yet no one looked confident. The Apex flagship was large enough to block half the stars outside the bay window. Its hull, covered in ancient battle scars, glowed with shifting crimson patterns. When the ramp lowered, silence washed over the bay. The Apex Warlord stepped out, towering, armored, and radiating a calm that was more frightening than open anger. But he wasn't alone. Behind him walked several Vargothi elders and war chiefs. This wasn't a courtesy visit. It was a gathering of power. The Warlord scanned the room until his eyes landed on Jace, who had been escorted to the front. The human stood straight, not out of confidence, but because the world was watching. Every movement he made would be analyzed. The Warlord walked forward, each step echoing like distant thunder. When he finally spoke, his voice filled the entire bay. Brother. A wave of whispers spread across the hall. Jace swallowed. You came back. The Warlord nodded. There are things you must know. Secrets carried since before your species reached the stars. Jace felt every ambassador watching with wide, fearful eyes. Why me? He asked softly. The Warlord lowered his head, a rare gesture of sincerity. Because you are the one the galaxy has waited for. Every heart in the room froze. Before Jace could ask another question, the station trembled violently, an explosion shaking the walls. Someone had fired on the station, and the real storm was just beginning. The station shook again, harder this time, and dust fell from the ceiling like gray snow. Lights flickered, alarms echoed, and the sound of emergency shutters sliding into place filled the hallways. Soldiers rushed into formation, and engineers shouted orders at one another. The chaos spread quickly, but in the center of it all, Araxes stood calm. Too calm. Commander Jace Ward felt his heart race. The Warlord's return was already stressful, but an attack? Now, it couldn't be a coincidence. Was that a ship firing on us? Jace asked. Araxes didn't answer immediately. His burning eyes scanned the room with slow, precise motions, as if measuring danger by instinct alone. Captain Mira Hale rushed beside Jace, her voice tense. We're detecting unknown energy signatures. Someone is trying to breach the station. Araxes turned to Jace. We must speak in private. Now. Jace blinked. Private? During an attack. Yes, the Warlord said, not raising his voice. Because the attack is connected to what I must tell you. Before Jace could protest, the station shook again. This time a low, rolling roar that made the floor vibrate beneath his boots. Araxes gestured to his war chiefs. Guard the halls. No one follows us. The war chiefs obeyed instantly, forming a wall of armored bodies around the entrance. Jace and Araxes moved down a side corridor, lights flashing red along the walls. The hallway was quiet except for distant alarms and the deep hum of the station's failing shields. Jace glanced up at the towering alien. You said there were secrets. What kind of secrets? Araxes walked with long, heavy steps, his voice steady as stone. Truths buried before your species reached space. Truths that concern humans and me. Jace frowned. I don't understand. You will, Araxes said, but only if you listen. They entered a secure observation room with a wide, transparent window overlooking the stars. The station trembled again, but the shields held, for now. The two stood facing the view, watching faint lights move toward them. At least 3 ships. Not Vargothi. Not human. Something else. Araxes spoke first. Do you know why the galaxy fears humans, Jace Ward? Jace crossed his arms. They don't fear us. We're barely a century into space travel. Araxes finally turned to him. They fear what you may become. Jace felt a chill run down his spine. Araxes continued, voice quiet but heavy. There's an ancient story among the Apex clans. A story older than my bloodline. It speaks of a young species born far from the core worlds. A species small in size but strong in spirit. A species not known for strength of body, but strength of heart. Jace listened carefully. They were called the Chosen Kin, Araxes said. A people destined to influence the galaxy not through power, but through connection. Are you saying humans are that species? Araxes nodded once. But why would the galaxy fear that? Connection doesn't sound dangerous. The Warlord turned away from the window. Because connection can unite. Unite species that were never meant to stand together. Unite forces that old empires want to keep divided. Jace felt the weight of that idea settle on his shoulders. So someone wants to stop humans from forming those connections? Yes, Araxes said. And they fear the first connection is me. Jace swallowed. Because you call me brother. Araxes stepped closer, lowering his voice. No Apex warlord in our history has ever chosen an outsider as family. If I choose you, the galaxy believes I will choose your species next. And they don't want that, Jace whispered. Many would rather see your species controlled, or erased. The station trembled again, stronger this time, and the lights nearly went out. Jace looked at the window. The ships outside were much closer now, and their engines glowed with unfamiliar energy. A strange blue shimmer flickered around their hulls. Were those ships? Jace asked. Araxes stared at them, his expression turning dark and serious. They are called the Shade Collective, a group of hidden powers who fear change more than anything. They work in shadows, moving empires like pieces on a board. Why attack now? Jace asked. Because they saw me stand with you, and they want to break that bond before it grows. Jace tried to steady his breathing. So I'm the target? Not just you, the Warlord said. Us. The door to the observation room opened suddenly, and Captain Hale rushed in. Commander, Warlord, the attackers breached the first shield layer. The station can't take much more. Araxes' eyes narrowed. Prepare evacuation ships for civilians. I will confront them. Hale hesitated, glancing between them. And Commander Ward? Araxes spoke firmly. He stays with me. Jace blinked. I stay? What can I even do? Araxes placed a massive hand on Jace's shoulder, gentler than expected. You did not earn my respect because of what you can do in battle, the Warlord said. You earned it because of how you think, how you act, and because your presence changes the course of events. Jace felt a strange warmth behind the fear. The Warlord meant those words. Araxes continued. The Shade Collective wants to erase the future we may build together. They want to remove the symbol of unity I created. And that symbol is me, Jace said softly. The Warlord nodded. Outside the window, the enemy ships charged their weapons. Araxes stepped in front of Jace, protective and ready. The lights dimmed. The alarms grew louder. The enemy prepared to strike. And the first secret had finally been revealed. Humans were never just newcomers to the stars. They were the spark the galaxy feared. And Araxes had chosen Jace to stand at the center of that spark. The real battle for the future was about to begin. The great warship Orkanath drifted through the silent part of space like a metal mountain. Its armor shone with cold silver light, and thousands of warriors marched inside its endless corridors. Every alien on board felt the same pressure in the air, as if something enormous was coming. Every voice was low. Every step was watched. Every eye kept turning toward one place, the Hall of Odes. Inside that hall, Human Captain Reyes walked alone. The place was huge. The ceiling was so high that shadows swallowed the top. Pillars carved with battle scenes stretched across the room. Each carving showed a legend of the apex warlords, wars, victories, and ancient struggles written like wounds in the metal. Torches of blue plasma burned on the walls, casting a strange glow on Reyes' face. He walked forward slowly. He could feel hundreds of apex warriors watching him from the balconies above. They whispered among themselves. Many of them still did not trust him. Many of them did not want a human here at all. Reyes sensed all the doubt around him like cold wind, but he kept walking. At the far end of the hall, the apex warlord himself waited. Krogtor stood with his arms crossed, towering above every other creature in the hall. His armor was made from the bones of beasts hunted across different star systems. His eyes shone like burning amber, sharp and still, as if he could see through every thought. Reyes stopped several meters away from him. The hall fell completely silent. Even the flames seemed to freeze. For a long moment, no one spoke. Finally, Krogtor's voice echoed to the hall, deep, strong, and impossible to ignore. "Human," he said, "you stand in the Hall of Odes, a place where no outsider has stood for 1,000 years. Do you understand the weight of this?" Reyes nodded. "I do." Krogtor stepped closer. Every warrior watching leaned forward, expecting anger or challenge. But instead, the warlord examined Reyes with a curious expression, almost thoughtful. "You helped my people escape the Necron traps," Krogtor said. "You saved warriors who once saw you as nothing, and you stood with me in battle, even when you could have run." Reyes met his gaze. "I didn't come here to run from anything, Warlord." A low murmur spread through the hall. Apex warriors were not used to hearing a human speak with such steadiness. Krogtor continued, "You have shown strength. You have shown courage. But the galaxy does not honor words. It honors action." He raised one massive arm and pointed to the center of the hall. "Before you can stand beside me," he said, "you must face the trial of resonance." The crowd gasped. Reyes felt his stomach tighten. "What is that?" Krogtor stepped aside. The floor in the center of the hall opened slowly, revealing a deep chamber illuminated with orange light. Strange patterns glowed on the ground like ancient circuits. "The trial," Krogtor said, "is not a fight. It is not a test of weapons or strength. It is a test of spirit. The machine below was built by the first apex warlords. It reads the truth inside a warrior's heart." Reyes frowned. "Sounds like it can't be fooled." "No one has ever fooled it," Krogtor said. The hall grew quiet again. 3 apex elders stepped forward from the shadows, their robes moving like smoke. They activated the ancient machine. The chamber flickered with energy. A humming sound filled the hall, low at first, but growing louder and deeper until it vibrated to the bones of every creature present. Reyes felt the ground shake under his feet. Krogtor looked at him. "If you enter that chamber, it will show your deepest intention. If your heart holds deceit, fear, or betrayal, the machine will expose it. And if it exposes it," Reyes asked, "then the hall will judge you as unworthy." His voice darkened. "And the judgment is death." The silence that followed felt heavy. Reyes breathed slowly, steadying himself. He knew this was not just a test to impress the apex. It was a turning point. If he passed, he would gain trust powerful enough to shift the balance of the galaxy. If he failed, he would not walk out alive. But Reyes also knew something else. He had nothing to hide. He turned toward the glowing chamber and began walking down the steps. Every apex warrior watched in silence. Some expected him to turn back. Some expected fear. But he showed none. The energy grew stronger as he reached the center of the chamber. The patterns on the floor brightened beneath his boots. The humming sound rose higher, vibrating through his ribs, shaking his breath, making his skin tingle. The elders raised their hands. The machine activated. Light burst upward around Reyes, spiraling columns of orange and gold, forming a dome of energy. Symbols moved in the air, floating like burning feathers. The floor trembled. The hall darkened. Everything outside the chamber blurred. Reyes closed his eyes as the machine reached into his mind. At first he felt nothing, just warmth. Then images flashed before him. His first day joining the Earth Defense Forces. His promise to protect his crew. The friends he lost in the Necron raid. The civilians he saved from a burning colony. The moment he decided to trust Krogtor. The moment he refused to abandon the Apex refugees. Every memory of fear. Every moment of strength. Every decision that shaped him. The machine dug deeper. It searched for lies. For hatred. For hidden plans. Reyes gritted his teeth as the pressure built. The air felt heavy. His heartbeat pounded. His legs trembled, but he stayed upright. Above, the elders watched the glowing symbols. The warriors waited. Krogtor did not blink. The chamber reached its peak brightness. Light flared so intensely that many shielded their eyes. Then, the energy snapped back into the machine with a thunderclap. The hall fell silent. Smoke drifted from the chamber floor. Reyes stood still, breathing hard. And then, a single symbol appeared in the air, glowing with golden light. The symbol of truth. Gasps echoed to the hall again. The elders bowed their heads. Krogtor smiled for the first time. The Warlord stepped forward, voice echoing through the chamber. "Human Reyes," he said, "your heart is clean." The hall erupted with shock and awe. Some warriors struck their chests in salute. Some stared as if witnessing a myth. And then Krogtor spoke the words that shook the galaxy. "You have passed the trial of resonance. You may now stand beside me, not as ally, but as brother." The galaxy would never forget this moment, and they had no idea what storm was coming next. The moment the word brother left Krogtor's mouth, the Hall of O's fell into a silence so deep that even the humming torches seemed to freeze. For the Apex warriors, that single word carried 1,000 years of weight. It was not something used lightly or casually or for politics. It was a bond stronger than a treaty, stronger than blood. It meant trust, loyalty, and shared fate. A human had never received such honor. Reyes stood still, trying to steady his breath. He did not fully understand Apex rituals, but he understood one thing clearly. This moment would change not just him, not just the Apex, but the entire galaxy. The silence broke. Massive cheers erupted across the hall. Thousands of armored fists struck against metal chests in a thunderous rhythm. Apex warriors shouted ancient chants, and the hall trembled under their voices. Some warriors watched with shock, some watched with pride, and some watched with burning anger. Far above, in the highest balcony, a tall Apex commander stood motionless. His armor was marked with red stripes, symbols of old traditions. His eyes glared down at Reyes without blinking. Commander Varric, a loyal soldier, a skilled fighter, but one who believed that Apex should never share power with any other species. For him, humans were weak, and weakness had no place beside a warlord. He tightened his jaw, he clenched his fists, and quietly he walked away. But the celebration continued below. Krogtor raised his hand, and the cheering warriors slowly went silent again. The warlord's voice filled the room with calm strength. Reyes has shown clarity of heart. He has shown honor, and he has chosen to fight beside us, not for glory, but for justice. The torches flared brighter. Krogtor stepped forward and placed his massive hand on Reyes' shoulder. "Let the galaxy hear this truth. The Apex stand with humanity." Reyes nodded, still overwhelmed. "And humanity stand with the Apex." Warriors shouted again, stamping their feet. The hall shook. The entire warship vibrated as if sharing their excitement. But while the Apex celebrated, the outside world was changing. Far across space, in the galaxy core, thousands of different species watched the broadcast. Every important council, every fleet commander, every diplomat sat frozen as the translator repeated the message in dozens of languages. Apex Warlord Krogtor has named a human as his brother. Shockwaves spread to the galactic networks. On trading planets, screens lit up with breaking news. In military bases, alarms blared as strategic maps recalculated threat levels. In political towers, advisors ran down hallways with tablets of fresh intelligence. The reactions were immediate. Some species panicked. Some celebrated. Some refused to believe it. The Apex were the strongest empire in known space. If they now trusted humans, then the power map was changing fast. In the council of the ZYR Republic, a tall creature with crystal-like skin whispered, "If the Apex and humans unite, the Necron invasion will fail." In the diplomatic chambers of Tagline, a group of floating, jelly-like beings trembled with excitement. Peace might finally come. But in the hidden chambers of the Necron swarm, the reaction was different. Their leader, the mind-called Void Tyrant, glared at the screen with cold fury. "The Apex Warlord has chosen a human," it hissed. "This alliance cannot be allowed. The balance must remain broken." It turned to its commanders. "Prepare the shadow fleets. If the Apex will not fear us, then we will make them fear." Dark ships launched from the Necron fortress, heading straight toward Apex base. The storm had begun. Meanwhile, on the warship Orkanath, Reyes was led through a wide corridor filled with cheering warriors. They struck their weapons on the floor as he passed, creating echoes that sounded like rolling thunder. But Reyes felt a strange unease. Not everyone was cheering. A few Apex stood silently at the edges, staring at him with cold eyes. They did not break the rules, but their distrust was clear. Among them, Commander Varric watched silently. Reyes noticed, but pretended not to. Krog Tor walked beside him, speaking in a low voice. "You should know something. Not all Apex accept this bond yet. Tradition is stronger than steel for many of my warriors." "I saw," Reyes said. "They doubt you," Krog Tor continued. "Not because you are weak, but because you are different." Reyes nodded. "I'll earn their trust." The Warlord gave a rare smile. "You already have mine." They reached a round chamber, Krog Tor's command bridge. Dozens of screens floated in the air, displaying maps, alerts, and distant star sectors. Officers turned as the Warlord entered. Every warrior bowed. Reyes stood beside him. Krog Tor placed his palm on the central control pedestal. The lights dimmed. The holographic galaxy map flared to life in front of them. Red dots blinked on the outer rim of Apex territory. Reyes frowned. "Necron signatures?" "Yes," Krog Tor said softly. They moved faster than expected. Another officer stepped forward. "Warlord, long-range sensors confirm a new formation. A shape we have never seen before." "What shape?" Reyes asked. The officer swallowed hard. "A spear. A giant spear-shaped battleship." Reyes felt chills. He had heard rumors, silent stories of a ship so destructive that entire colonies vanished before even seeing it. The Necron spear. Krog Tor watched the hologram with narrowed eyes. "It seems our enemies are preparing a message." Reyes stepped closer. "Then we must answer it." Krog Tor nodded once. "Prepare the fleet. The galaxy is watching. And now we stand together." Alarms blared across the warship. Thousands of warriors rushed into formation. Engines ignited. New orders flew across every level. A human and an Apex Warlord stood side by side, ready to face the first strike of a much larger war. But far in the shadows, Commander Varric whispered himself, "This bond will destroy us, and I will stop it." The real fight, for trust, for unity, for the future, was only just beginning. The warship Orkanath shook as the engines roared to full power. Apex warriors rushed across the decks, preparing weapons, locking armor, and setting battle shields. Lights flashed red along the walls. The entire ship felt alive, like a giant creature awakening for war. Reyes stood beside Krog Tor on the command bridge. The holographic map floated before them, showing the incoming Necron spear, a massive, spear-shaped ship slicing through space at impossible speed. Around it, dozens of smaller ships swarmed like dark insects. Krog Tor spoke calmly, though his voice carried the weight of the moment. "They come fast. Too fast. They do not plan to send a message. They plan to destroy one." Reyes studied the map. "They're targeting your outer colonies first. They want to scare your people." "They will fail," Krog Tor said, "but only if we act with precision." The ship's alarms changed pitch, signaling the incoming threat. Reyes took a deep breath. "What's our strategy?" The Warlord nodded to his officers. The hologram zoomed out, revealing Apex fleets forming defensive lines. "We hold them at the border," Krog Tor said. Then we strike the spear directly, cut the head, and the swarm falls apart. Reyes frowned. But the spear's shield. Yes, the warlord replied. It absorbs energy attacks. Reyes's eyes sharpened. But it can't absorb everything. If we hit it with something it cannot predict. A smile crossed Krogtor's face. Human thinking. Reyes nodded. Unusual thinking. Before they could finalize a plan, a sharp voice interrupted. It was Commander Varric. He stepped forward from the side of the bridge, eyes cold, posture rigid. Warlord, with respect, this human should not command anything. His ideas will lead to chaos. The bridge fell silent. Reyes studied him. Krogtor's expression darkened, not with anger, but disappointment. Varric, the warlord said, your loyalty is strong, but your fear blinds you. Varric shook his head. I fear nothing, except trusting someone who is not Apex. You call him brother, but you do not know his true nature. Reyes stepped forward, calm. If you have something to say to me, say it. Varric glared at him. You are temporary. This bond is temporary. Apex blood is forever. Krogtor raised a hand. Enough. There is no time for this. But Varric wasn't finished. Warlord, if we follow a human strategy and we lose, then every Apex will know who caused our defeat. Reyes answered before Krogtor could. If we lose, it won't matter who is blamed, because the Necron will destroy us all. Silence again. Finally, Krogtor spoke. His voice was steady. Varric, you may doubt him, but you will follow my command. The commander clenched his jaw, then bowed stiffly. As you wish. But his eyes promised something else. Something dangerous. Moments later, the Apex fleet moved into position. Through the enormous front window of the bridge, Reyes saw them, rows of colossal ships, lined like shining metal beasts. Their engines glowed blue. Their weapons hummed with power. In the distance, the Necron spear appeared. Even from far away, it looked terrifying. Its black surface absorbed the light around it. Its shape was long and sharp, like a dark needle cutting the stars apart. Shadows swarmed around it. The smaller Necron ships. Reyes felt the weight of what was coming. Krogtor placed one massive hand on the control pedestal. Begin. A deep horn echoed across the ship. The Apex fleet surged forward. The battle began with a flash. Apex cannons fired bright bolts of energy. Necron ships twisted around them like dark birds. Massive explosions lit up the void. The two forces collided in a storm of movement, light, and sound. Reyes held onto the railing as Orkanath moved through the battlefield. Krogtor gave orders with calm precision. Squadron 4, flank left. Raise shields. Redirect power to front cannons. Reyes supported with human tactical advice. They're trying to split your formation, counter it. Don't chase the swarm ships. Focus on the spear. Watch the power spikes. They're charging something. Slowly, the Apex fleet adapted. Slowly, they began pushing the Necron back. But the spear, it kept coming. Straight toward Orkanath. Reyes pointed at its core. There, that's the weakness. Krogtor nodded. But how do we reach it? Before Reyes could answer, a sudden alarm blared across the bridge. Unauthorized power transfer detected. An officer shouted. Reyes and Krogtor looked at the screen. One of the ship's secondary reactors was glowing dangerously bright. Someone was overloading it. Krogtor's eyes narrowed. Varric. He didn't finish the sentence. The lights flickered. The ship tilted sharply. Reyes grabbed the console. He's tried to shut down our shields. Krogtor growled. He believes removing you will save us. Reyes steadied himself. Then we stop him. Krogtor turned to his officers. Seal the reactor sector. But it was too late. A warning flashed across the screens. Shield failure imminent. Reyes's mind raced. The spear was aiming directly at them. They had seconds. Then the idea hit him, a wild, human idea. Warlord, he shouted. Divert our failing shields into the forward cannon. An officer gasped. That will destroy the cannon. Reyes shook his head. No, it will overload it. And when it explodes, it will fire a physical shockwave, not energy. The spear can't absorb that. Krog-Tor stared at him, then nodded. Do it. The officers obeyed. Energy surged across the ship. The cannon glowed brighter and brighter until the entire front of the vessel looked like a rising sun. The spear fired first, a massive beam of darkness aimed straight for Orkanath. Reyes shouted, "Now!" Krog-Tor slammed his hand down. The overloaded cannon fired. A blinding blast of raw force. Pure kinetic power shot forward like a giant invisible hammer. It collided with the spear. For the first time, the Necron spear cracked. Its dark armor split. Its shield shattered. The ship shook so violently that its swarm ships scattered in fear. And then, the spear went silent. Completely silent. The battlefield froze. The Necron ship stopped moving, and the apex warriors across the fleet erupted into victorious roars. Reyes let out a long breath. Exhausted, Krog-Tor turned toward him. "You saved us," the Warlord said. Reyes shook his head. "We saved each other." The Warlord placed his hand on Reyes' shoulder again. "This day," he said, "the galaxy saw what happens when human courage and apex strength stand together." Reyes smiled. "Let them see. We're just getting started." Beyond the window, the stars glowed brighter, as if the galaxy itself was watching and waiting for the next chapter.